You've probably met someone who's absolutely convinced they're the smartest person in the room, yet 2 minutes into the conversation, you realize they have no idea what they're talking about. Frustrating, right? But here's the twist. It's not just them. This is a trap we've all fallen into, and science has a name for it: the Dunning-Kruger Effect. The shocking part: the less someone knows, the more confident they often feel. And this confidence doesn't just shape conversations, it shapes careers, relationships, and even leadership at the highest levels. Meanwhile, truly intelligent people quietly doubt themselves, caught in what's called the expert paradox. In this video, we're going to flip your perspective on what it really means to be smart. And trust me, by the end, you'll not only spot this effect everywhere, you'll start noticing how it's been quietly shaping your own life in ways you never imagined. It's fascinating and slightly terrifying how the Dunning-Kruger effect works. Imagine someone walking into a conversation about quantum physics with the confidence of a Nobel Prize winner, yet their understanding is limited to something they once saw in a sci-fi movie. That's the trick of ignorance. It hides itself behind a cloak of certainty. Like MacArthur Wheeler, the man who thought lemon juice could make him invisible to security cameras. These moments reveal how overconfidence can spring from a complete lack of metacognition, the ability to recognize our own blind spots. The real danger isn't just that people misunderstand things, it's that they don't know they misunderstand. And that combination of ignorance and confidence often spreads faster than genuine knowledge. Think about social media. Confidence gets clicks, while humility often gets drowned out. That's why you'll see endless experts online offering advice on finance, fitness, or psychology, with the boldness of seasoned professionals, but the foundation of a beginner standing at the very edge of the expert paradox. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We've all been there. Every single one of us has had a lemon juice moment, believing we knew more than we did. The difference is that some people stop there, holding on to false certainty, while others let curiosity take the wheel. And that's where the journey begins, when we start to suspect that maybe, just maybe, there's more to learn than we initially thought. And this is exactly where the next step of the curve takes us. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains why the least competent often speak the loudest. Without the awareness of their own limitations, they don't just have confidence, they have unshakable confidence. It's like someone who has just learned the rules of chess and suddenly believes they're ready to challenge a grandmaster. That misplaced assurance creates an illusion of authority, and unfortunately, illusions sell. Now, here's where the expert paradox quietly enters the room. True experts, those who've spent years refining their skills, are often painfully aware of what they don't know. They've climbed out of the valley of ignorance only to realize that the mountain has no visible peak. That awareness breeds humility, which is powerful but also makes them less inclined to shout their knowledge from the rooftops. And so, the public stage gets dominated by the confident uninformed, while the genuinely wise often stay in the background. It's an uncomfortable imbalance, but there's a way to break that cycle. And it begins with something deceptively simple: recognizing the gap between what we think we know and what we actually know. That recognition will take us right into the next phase of understanding. What's fascinating is how predictable this pattern is. Research shows that those with the least skill consistently rate their abilities far higher than reality supports. It's not arrogance by choice, it's the blind spot of lacking metacognition. Without the tools to evaluate their own performance, they assume competence where none exists. And this gap is not only psychological, it's deeply human. In everyday life, you'll see it everywhere, from the office colleague who's certain they can run the company better than the CEO, to the person online confidently explaining climate science after reading a single article. This isn't stupidity, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. And the more we understand it, the more we realize that curiosity might be the bridge to move beyond it. This is where the story starts to get interesting, because right after the peak of false confidence comes a sharp reality check. It's a humbling fall, but it opens the door to something more profound: the expert paradox. And that's exactly where we're heading next. The so-called mountain of stupidity is where confidence skyrockets, while actual skill is still at ground level. Picture it. Someone learns the basics of investing, buys a single stock, and suddenly believes they've unlocked the secrets Warren Buffett himself keeps in a vault. It's a dangerous sweet spot where the Dunning-Kruger effect thrives, because ignorance feels like mastery, at least for a while. Climbing that mountaintop is almost a rite of passage for anyone learning something new. The rush of quick progress fuels a sense of certainty, and social media amplifies it. People rush to share expert advice after a week of dabbling in crypto, psychology, or nutrition. Algorithms reward confidence, not necessarily genuine intelligence. And so, the loudest voices often aren't the wisest ones. But then something happens. Reality steps in. As people dig deeper, complexity unravels in ways they never expected. This is where humility creeps in, not as a punishment, but as a sign of real growth. And it's at this moment that the expert paradox quietly takes center stage. The expert paradox is one of the most fascinating truths about human knowledge. The more someone knows, the more they realize how much they don't know. It's like walking into a massive library thinking you'll master all its books only to discover that every aisle you explore leads to 10 more. True expertise breeds curiosity, because every answer opens the door to deeper questions. That's why genuine experts often speak with caution. It's not because they lack confidence, it's because they respect the complexity of reality. Whether in science, finance, or philosophy, humility becomes a natural outcome of deep understanding. They've fallen from the mount of stupidity, walked through the valley of despair, and climbed toward the slow slope of genuine intelligence. Meanwhile, those still standing proudly at the peak often dominate the conversation. In meetings, they're the first to speak. Online, they're the ones posting bold takes with unwavering certainty. And the irony, they sometimes influence more people than the cautious expert. But there's a way to counter this imbalance, and it starts with something subtle. What's intriguing is that this isn't limited to academia or high-level debates. It happens in everyday life. A person who just started cooking may feel ready to host a dinner for 20 guests, while a professional chef might hesitate, knowing all the nuances involved. That's the paradox. The deeper the knowledge, the stronger the humility. And here's the part most people miss. This humility isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the ability to stand in front of an audience, admit uncertainty, and still inspire trust. It's why the best leaders, thinkers, and innovators aren't necessarily the loudest, but they're the most respected. Their curiosity doesn't fade with expertise. It deepens. This shift from overconfidence to awareness marks the transition toward something more profound, the art of reflection. And that reflection leads us to the ultimate tool for escaping the Dunning-Kruger effect, metacognition, which brings us directly to our next topic. If there's a true antidote to the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's called metacognition, the ability to think about our own thinking. It sounds fancy, but at its core, it's simply pausing to ask, could I be wrong? That single question is a doorway to a mindset where curiosity thrives and humility becomes second nature. Metacognition isn't about doubting yourself endlessly. It's about checking your mental compass before moving forward. A simple example: before giving financial advice, a person might pause and ask, do I really understand the market trends, or am I just repeating what I've heard? That pause alone can prevent countless mistakes and open the door to genuine intelligence. The beauty of this practice is that it transforms how we approach learning. Instead of rushing to defend our opinions, we start asking better questions. We read books not just to confirm what we already believe, but to challenge it. Think of works like Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, or The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb, books that push us beyond our comfort zone. And this habit of seeking more Well, it changes everything. The second pillar in this path is humility, and not the superficial kind where someone pretends to be modest. Real humility is knowing that no matter how much you've learned, the world will always be bigger than your understanding. It's like standing at the edge of the ocean. You can swim, you can navigate, but you'll never exhaust its depth. True humility doesn't silence you. It makes your voice more precise. When a scientist says, "We don't know yet," it's not a weakness, it's integrity. In a world where certainty sells,